Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Metcalf's Movie Journal. This is the show where I do quick reviews for the movies that I watch, give them a score out of 10, and then add them to my list. So let's see what movie we're reviewing today. On February 9th, I watched Papilon, which came out in 2017. And this was actually a remake of the 1973 version, which starred Steve McQueen instead of Charlie Hunnam as Papillon, and Dustin Hoffman instead of Rami Malek as the friend Louis Dega. And at least according to a couple reviews I read on IMDb, the classic clearly has a special place in a lot of people's hearts. And it always sucks when they remake a classic and it doesn't live up to the original. So clearly I have to go back and watch the original at some point. But for now, all I can really compare this film to is other Prison Break movies, the most obvious of which being The Shawshank Redemption. It's harsh to have to compare against one of the best movies ever, but that's the burden of the subject matter. If you make a gangster movie, I'm forced to compare it against Goodfellas or The Godfather. And if you make a Prison Break movie, the only two I can really think to compare it to would be Shawshank, or something that I watched more recently, Escape from Alcatraz. That's actually the perfect movie to compare Papillon to, because both are based on true stories, both have similarly slow pacing, and both use their full runtimes to develop and explain how the escape was pulled off, with almost nothing covering either before or after the prison sentence. It's interesting that this more modern film had such a similar pacing to a film from 1979, because you just don't see that much anymore. I also don't think that the director, Michael Noor, was quite as adept at using it as they used to be back in the 70s. That style should be used to develop the characters and set the scene with some great wide establishing shots. Maybe even introduce some ancillary characters, who don't actually have much to do with the plot, but are just there to help establish and build a believable world. But none of that is accomplished here, and there's a truly stunning lack in supporting characters. It's just impossible to believe that Papillon spent all this time in prison and only spoke to like 5 guys the entire time he was there. Even the relationship built between Papillon and Louis, which should be the strongest in the film, ends up feeling underdeveloped simply because of the lack of dialogue. I don't know if words per minute is a tracked stat for movies, but I would guess this film is in a pretty low percentile. At just over 2 hours long, this movie ends up feeling almost like 3, and maybe that's what I'm supposed to feel in sympathizing with a prisoner. The scenes in silence feel especially long and punishing. So maybe I'm supposed to view it as this beautiful artistic achievement. But I think I need to be honest, take the cynical route, and admit that I was just bored. The feeling of being permanently trapped in a mind-numbing prison probably shouldn't be the emotional goal of a film. It's one thing to make your audience cry, but I don't think you want them feeling like they want to escape your movie. All the standard tropes of a prison movie can be found here, from bum smuggling contraband, to prison work gangs, to the ever-popular shower fight scene. And knowing that these beats are coming only makes that slow pace that much more agonizing. It's like listening to a song you know, played way too slowly. It just drags. There were some bright spots though, because even without much to work with, Rami Malek has some obvious talent, and just a crazy unique look to him that makes him super captivating while he's on screen. I also think Roland Muller deserves special mention for a standout performance as another prisoner, but his character is still frustratingly underdeveloped. I just wish he had more to work with. Overall, a pretty predictable but well-acted and interesting story. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 10, and it landed at number 1145 on my list, putting it right here. In between The Little Rascals and Hot Shots. Hey, thanks for watching another edition of Metcalf's Movie Journal. Be sure to click like and subscribe for new videos every week. And if you got something you really want me to watch, be sure to drop me a comment.